I don't usually write about ghosts. That kind of thing was for tabloids and late-night radio, cheap thrills for the lonely. But in the winter of 1971, something happened that I've never been able to explain, let alone forget. Back then, I was a junior reporter at the Chicago Tribune, assigned to cover the demolition of the old Monte Vista Hotel downtown. 14 stories of faded grandeur, once a jewel of the 1920s, now hollowed out and crumbling. But there was a problem. One of the demolition crews reported a sealed room on the 12th floor, room 305. They couldn't open it, couldn't break it. Every night at exactly 3:05 a.m., they heard knocking from the other side. Not banging. Knocking. As if someone was being polite about their imprisonment. I should have ignored it. I should have just filed the piece and gone home. But I went up there. I wanted to see for myself. And I heard her voice. "It's almost time. Let me in." I've never told anyone what happened after that. Until now. The Monte Vista didn't look like much anymore. Just a crusted corpse of brick and metal clinging to the memory of jazz and flappers. My editor had sent me to get a photo and a quote, nothing more. But when I arrived, I noticed the men standing outside weren't the usual gruff, cigarette-hardened types. They stood in a tight cluster, voices low, eyes often drifting toward the upper floors. I approached the foreman, a thick-necked guy named Reuben. "They say there's a room on the 12th floor that won't open." His face tightened. "We don't go up there after dark. Something's wrong with that floor." He didn't elaborate. The elevator had been deactivated, so I climbed, 12 flights in a dusty, narrow stairwell that seemed to throb with every step I took. Each landing I passed felt colder. At the 12th, I stopped. There was no room 305. Rooms 301, 302, 303. Then a gap. Then 307. I touched the wall between them, expecting cool plaster. It rang hollow. There was a door, an outline anyway, walled over crudely. Something older than drywall. Metal, maybe. I pressed my ear to it. Nothing. I waited until nightfall. The building was supposed to be vacant, but a janitor let me stay under the pretense of archival interest. I had my notebook, a camera, and a flashlight. At 3:04 a.m., I stood outside the wall. At 3:05, the knocking began. 3 knocks. Then silence. Then again. My flashlight flickered. The knocks came again, methodical, deliberate. And then, her voice. "It's almost time. Let me in." The voice was soft, feminine, just barely audible. It was as if it was being whispered not in my ears, but inside my mind. I bolted. Back at my apartment, I spent the next day poring through microfilm reels at the Tribune archives. That's when I found the 1948 article. "Man dies in flame in hotel room, claims shadow woman urged him to act." His name was Ellis Warren, a traveling salesman. He had checked into room 305 for what would be his final night. According to witnesses, he'd been ranting about a woman in his mirror. Said she watched him, spoke to him, promised release. That night, he soaked the room in lighter fluid and set himself ablaze. I called the hotel's historical records office. A man named Dr. Fenley confirmed that room 305 had been retired after the fire. But he hesitated when I asked about the 12th floor. "Miss," he said, "the Monte Vista was built in 1917. It has 13 floors, not 14. I hung up. My hands were shaking. I returned that evening. Room 305 was still sealed. I brought a crowbar, my notebook, and a portable recorder. I wanted proof. I wanted to believe that there was a rational explanation. Faulty blueprints, sleep deprivation, maybe mold spores. At 3:05 a.m., the knocking began again. This time, it didn't stop after 3. I pressed record on the device. The voice returned. "It's almost time. Let me in." My flashlight dimmed, then died completely. I fumbled for the crowbar and struck the wall where the door outline was visible. With a sharp groan of metal, it gave way. The air that poured out was suffocating, thick with heat and something that smelled like old copper and melted wax. Inside, room 305 was pristine. No soot, no burn marks, no evidence of a fire at all. A standing mirror leaned against the far wall. And in it, I swear to God, I didn't see myself. The woman in the reflection wore my coat, held my flashlight, but her eyes were pitch black. Her smile was too wide, and her lips were moving. She was whispering, but I couldn't hear the words. Then the door slammed shut behind me. I turned, there was no knob. I beat against the door. I screamed. When I turned back, the mirror was closer. Not by much, but unmistakably moved. It was at the foot of the bed now. I backed into the corner, recorder still rolling, heart pounding in my ears. That's when she whispered again. "You opened the door. Now it's your turn." The mirror rippled like water. Something moved on the other side. Slowly, like it was dragging itself across a floor that wasn't ours. And then it emerged. The figure that stepped through was neither shadow nor flesh, but both, shifting in and out of the room like smoke wrapped in skin. Her eyes locked onto mine, not just looking, consuming. 1,000 whispered voices seemed to rise from her body, speaking all at once. I stumbled backward, knocking over the chair, the flashlight rolling in a slow, spinning arc across the floor. She didn't walk. She glided. She moved toward the mirror again. But this time, she didn't go through it. She pointed at it. "Watch," she said. In the reflection, I saw myself, but not in that room. I was back at my apartment, staring into my bathroom mirror. But something was wrong. The reflection didn't follow my movements. It just smiled. Then, slowly, it raised a hand and touched the glass. Back in room 305, I was shaking. The entity turned back to me. "You're the door now," she whispered. Then she stepped back into the mirror. The surface stilled. I was alone. Or I thought I was. A moment later, the mirror began to hum. Not audibly, but in my bones. My body ached like every nerve was being plucked by invisible fingers. I backed toward the corner, hands trembling. From behind me, another voice. Male this time. "You shouldn't have opened it." I turned, but no one was there. The mirror rippled again. A new face, mine but older. And behind her, shapes, moving, watching. And then I blacked out. When I woke, I was lying in the hotel lobby, the sun streaming through broken windows. No one believed me. The recorder only picked up static. But that night, at 3:05 a.m., I heard it again. 3 knocks. Then, "It's almost time, let me in." The Monte Vista was demolished 6 days later. The report listed it as a 13-story structure. I checked the blueprints myself. No 12th floor, no room 305. Not even as a storage closet. but I still have the recorder. It still plays that voice. My voice. Every year on March 5th at 3:05 a.m., it starts playing again, even without batteries. I don't remember what happened in that room, but sometimes, in my dreams, I see her watching me from the mirror, smiling, waiting.
And so, the shadows stretch further, and the mystery only deepens. But this is far from the end. It's merely the beginning. What lingers beyond the door? Who is whispering your name? And what is that shifting in the corner of your eye? The answers await in the next chapter of these chilling tales. Subscribe to Nightfall Crypt and hit the notification bell, because the Crypt's secrets are endless and the darkness never sleeps. Until next time, stay in the light if you can.